Hi there, I'm your host Marlene McConnell and welcome to the Surviving Trauma Stories of Hope podcast. In this week's episode, I am excited to welcome the lovely Azzah Manukova from San Miguel, Mexico. In her early years, Azzah grew up on a ranch in the Australian countryside. Her first teachers were the Australian Aboriginal Elders, whom she greatly respects. After leaving Australia, she lived and studied in Asia for 23 years. Her work experience spans more than 30 years. She has conducted transformational seminars on 5 continents, including countries such as Australia, Russia, the United States, Canada, England, Mexico, Kenya, Japan, the Philippines, Hong Kong, Korea, and Thailand. Azzah has been featured in numerous international media, including television, radio, and newspapers. It has been my pleasure to have Azzah join me and share her knowledge with us. My listeners, I know you will enjoy this episode. Thank you to my listeners for joining me on this journey. Comment on the posts on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn and let me know what you think of this episode. Also head to Amazon.com and takealot.com and get your copy of my book, Ray of Light, and please leave me a rating and review. It would mean the world to me. Also, please check out my website and download your free journal prompt and relaxing meditation. As always, stay tuned and keep listening. Good morning, Azzah. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, this is women empowerment.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all about empowerment.
Yes.
And you're joining me today from your home all the way in Mexico.
Yes, I live in Mexico. San Miguel de Allende. It's the heart of Mexico. It's like artists, bohemian beauty. Everything you look at's beautiful here.
Oh, fantastic.
It's the most beautiful town. Yeah, it's the most beautiful town in Mexico.
Lovely.
You know how artists collect together?
Yes.
And create all of these beautiful things. Yeah, that's what it is. San Miguel de Allende.
So you must be able to see this everywhere you go in the town.
Oh, the windows, the doors. There's a book only about the beauty of the doors of San Miguel. It's a whole picture book of doors of San Miguel.
Wow. I must definitely check that out. But let me take a step back, because you didn't always work or live in Mexico. In fact, you have traveled the world and worked in very many different places, studied in very many different countries, done work in very many different countries. But I want to go back to your childhood, where you're from, where you grew up. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah. My mother was from the Ukraine. And my father was from Ossetia, which is a republic of Russia. They chose to be a republic of Russia, and it's not a forced republic. So it's a very beautiful and rich, but it's extremely traditional and tribal, like crazy.
Wow. I've never actually heard of it.
Yeah, and it's... Yeah, no, most people haven't. The old word for the Ossetians is Scythian. It's the Scythian race. It's a very ancient race of people in the Caucasus Mountains. And there's a lot of different tribes there. So Ossetia is one of the tribes. There's like 1 million people.
Okay.
And so my father comes from there, and he's very traditional, very conservative, extreme rules of who and how you should be, and especially as a woman, you know. And my mother comes from Ukraine, which is the Ukrainian women are very liberated. They're very free, especially sexually. They're not colonized, where my father comes from, the opposite value. Of cultural value. So there's that conflict. And also they had to leave. It's all under the umbrella of Russia, right? So they had to leave Russia because they didn't want to live in communism and all of this type of stuff. So they're very traumatized people.
Yeah.
right? My father didn't want to live anywhere except Ossetia. And my mother, too, they're strangers in this country called Australia, which is mostly white people, So they suffered a lot of racism, which then went on to their children, And even though I'm not black looking, but there's this dilemma. I'm going to write about it because people think that because you're a different color you suffer racism. No, it's not. Because you're a different culture, and your culture has a certain perspective and value in life. So anyway, we're the Australian people from England, and here I am, Russian, and that conflict and that racism that was going on was horrendous for me because my name's Azzah Manukova, and they wanted to change my name to Anne, and there's no way I'm an Anne. No, I'm Azzah, and the conflict of that, and then my parents' trauma and the conflict of all of that, and then me being a girl, the conflict of all that, so that left major trauma in me. So that's what I've been dealing with. No wonder I'm a trauma therapist because therapists deal with their own issues.
That's
Basically.
true.
Why did you become a therapist? Because I grew up in insanity. That's why.
Right.
So you have a choice: go crazy, become a drug addict, alcoholic, or become a therapist. That's your choice. So what trauma does is our nature protects us to keep us alive, right? So what happens is the trauma separates us from ourselves. So my trauma separated me from myself. Who I was not good enough, was not accepted, was not seen, could not be this way. You must, you should, you can't, you mustn't, that wrong, bad. So as a child, I'm looking at how I should be to monitor the situation with my parents to survive their craziness. And so then I had to reject a lot of me and build a persona to be able to live in the environment that I was in, because I'm growing up in racism, and I'm growing up with two crazy parents, because trauma literally makes you crazy. There's this, it's like something inside of you, and our nature pushes us towards wholeness all the time. So there are these external symptoms like anger or addiction or subservient or lose your voice or get sick. These are external symptoms of trauma, and the trauma and your nature pushes you towards wholeness to heal yourself. You cut yourself, you don't have to think about it. Your body will heal it. It's our nature. So the trauma is a heavy thing to deal with, and it creates a shadow. All of the aspects of me that I rejected
Yeah.
to survive became my shadow side, you know, like my voice, it became my shadow side. I used to stutter and I couldn't speak clearly. I couldn't make sentences because, the trauma
Yes.
in my body. Until
Yeah.
I released that out of my body, it has to be released out of my body. Then my throat opened up. Every now and then, under stress or something, I can feel the stuttering, but it's nothing now. But before, I couldn't even speak.
Wow. So, as you're describing your parents coming from an environment which left them feeling traumatized, and from what I understand, that was passed down also to their children, which was you. So, the
Yes.
behavior that they had as a result of their experiences back in Russia was also then, I suppose, taken out and passed down onto their children, which you describe
Yes.
as your own traumatic experience. So, at what age did you realize all of this was becoming too much and that you needed to find some help?
Well, in my 20s, when a child grows up in trauma, then when they become teenagers and your body's metamorphosing into an adult, right? That's when the real heavy effect of the trauma starts coming out, and the child rebels, and all of these dysfunctions start happening, because of the metamorphosis physically. And then in your 20s,
Is that what was happening to you? Like you were acting out?
oh, yeah, absolutely. I started doing crazy things, not with drugs or alcohol, but for example, I shaved my head. I only wore black. I was depressed. I got into,
Mm-hmm.
real heavy duty music and acting out. I became a rebel and an outcast, and I identified with all of these things,
Yeah.
as a way of searching for myself.
Yes. Yeah, that's tough when you're in those adolescent years, moving through finding your identity.
It's a search for yourself. I didn't know who I was. My parents didn't know who I was. And I'm like trying to stick onto something to be able to be accepted somewhere. We have to be accepted, otherwise we'll die. So to be accepted by some sort of system or belief or whatever, radical something or other, fascism, we have to abandon who we really are. So it's either you attach yourself to something where you're identifying with it and you can feel a kinship with it, or you develop who you really are. But if you identify with who you
Yeah.
really are, then you're not going to belong anywhere. So it's either attachment or it's like a child, don't do this and you shouldn't do that and you can't do
Mm-hmm.
that. And the child's going, well, then what should I do and how should I do? And they're trying to find how they should be according to their parents' value. So they have to abandon themselves. So it's a self abandonment. To attach to a system or a parent's
Okay.
view of you, you have to abandon yourself. And abandoning yourself is where the problem happens.
Mm-hmm. It happens in most cases. I mean, and I'm thinking of an example where your parents says, you must become a doctor or a lawyer, and perhaps you want to be a musician, or an artist. But perhaps the fear of disappointment to your parents is greater than making the choice of being who you would like to be or who you want to be.
Yeah, it's much greater because it's your survival. Because if you don't agree with them, then they'll abandon you on an emotional level.
Mm,
Then you'll be wrong and bad. And it's not a matter of judgment, of your parents being good or bad people. Maybe they were good. Maybe their intention was
yeah.
positive. They're trying to do the best for you. And maybe it wasn't. But that's not the point. Here you are with the effect of what you grew up with,
Yeah.
and you need to deal with it.
So, did you reach out, at school for help, or at university or after school, to any counselors? How did your healing path start at that early age?
Well, no, that's not my personality. My personality is I'll fix it, I'll do it myself. Some people implode, other people explode. I'm an exploder. Imploded people look for help, which is fabulous. It took me some time, years, to start looking for help externally, because I identified with I can do this myself. I don't care if they're crazy. I don't care if they don't love me. I don't care about racism because I will fix it myself. So because of that attitude, it took me time to start looking for help.
Okay. I think a lot of people can identify with the notion that you must be self-reliant. And I think sometimes your circumstances also brings about other emotions like shame or perhaps guilt about the
Yeah,
situation that makes it
yeah.
difficult to reach
Yeah,
out.
it's
Yeah.
cruel. That was me being cruel to myself. And I'm female, but a lot of males suffer that. You know, where they feel ashamed. Yeah, a
Hmm.
lot of men suffer that in silence, and then they live the reaction of the trauma instead of living their own life, which is dreadful.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about your healing path. For a long time, you wanted to self rely, but how did you come to the realization that you had to do something? And how did you choose to become a therapist? And did that have anything to do with the healing work that you've done? Or was it a case of you wanted to become a therapist and through the studies that you've done, you've then leaned into the healing? How did that come about?
One important pivotal point. I was 18. I had Australian Aboriginal friends, and the elder. I remember this one old man. He really saw me. I felt like he could see me, and he absolutely loved what he saw. He loved my energy, my everything as a human being. And he kept praising me. And that sort of calmed me down and made me okay with myself, and in a certain way. So then I started researching about healing, and also the Aboriginal people have their own form of healing, which is just fabulous. It's through ritual. So having that, and having the ritual and going through that, and then around the age of 22, I started studying psychology, and what that was, the Western world of healing. But I had already the background of the nature,
Mhm.
through ritual and killing. Actually, a very, very important thing to do is killing, like killing off all of the different aspects of yourself that are blocking you, like the negative voices, then the all of these different aspects that Carl Jung calls them archetypes, which are different forces that
Yes.
block your way, block your evolution. So I started researching Western psychology around 22, and then I did Gestalt, and then I've done a million other things too.
Yes, it's very impressive. I had a look at your
Yeah,
website, and I mean, I'm not sure. I think you've been to just about every continent and researched and studied every aspect of healing. But I'm interested in
yeah,
the Gestalt therapy that you did, because that is interesting when talk about our past, our present, and our future when it comes to healing. And the Gestalt therapy specifically focuses and you can correct me if I'm wrong, more on the impact that the traumatic experience would have on our present day as opposed to the past.
It comes together.
So talk to me about that.
So it's being in the present. So it's a split attention where you're in the present and remembering the past. And by remembering the past, the energy that trauma caused comes up into the present moment and you release it. So there's you now in the present, and then the memory with the energy that's in the body that needs to be released. That's why a lot of nature people do rituals, because they're releasing it from the body. It's a detox, physical detox, because everything's held in the body. If how do bullies know who they can victimize? They're just looking at people on the street. They know who they can victimize because the energy's in the body and it has to be released.
Yeah. When we say it's the energy, then we're probably also talking about the feelings and the emotions that causes the vibration of the energy that people can feel. I find it interesting when we talk about rituals that the ritual itself helps you to release whatever is inside the body.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at Hinduism, for example, or any religion or metaphysical practice, then it is the ritual that allows for the unseen to happen, because it allows you to create the space for something to happen around you. So if we get on our knees, we put our hands together and we bow our head, we are allowing for everything to happen within the unseen and for the releasing from within.
And also what ritual does is connect you to your psyche.
Of course, because we have to bring the subconscious mind to the conscious mind, right? We must bring whatever is in the subconscious mind into the conscious mind so that we can create that self-awareness.
Yeah, we have to bring, because the subconscious is a great, great force, and it keeps showing us where we need to heal. It's like you intend to do something and suddenly you're diverted, or you implode, or you're distracted, and you keep sabotaging yourself. That's something to look at. Energetically, it's a vibration in the subconscious. All of those vibrations Carl Jung called archetypes. So there's this self-sabotage archetype that, you work hard, you get everything together, you're doing it, everything's happening, and then suddenly, boom, it fell apart. It's like, how on earth did that happen? That's a self-sabotage energy within yourself. And once you deal with that, it's gone, actually, and then it becomes wisdom. Not only is it gone, but it transforms.
It does. It does. And and I like that you say wisdom, because that wisdom then allows you to recognize these patterns of behavior when they arise in future, I would imagine.
Yeah. So you can catch it because you've cleared the root cause. Once you've cleared the root, there's a habit. And the habit you can see easily. And then you can just choose something different. You're not stuck there, It's not doing you. Sometimes like you're scared of saying the wrong thing. Scared of saying the right thing. That's interesting. No. Scared of saying the wrong thing.
Yes.
That'd be me. I'm scared of saying the right thing. No, I'm joking.
Oh, Azzah, too funny.
So you're in a business party, there are cocktails and everything, and you're scared of something coming out of you that's going to sabotage you, and you're very careful. and then in the middle of a conversation, boom, out it comes. And that's the subconscious. It's like your subconscious, your spirit saying, heal, this needs to heal. It's a wound. It's an internal wound. It needs to heal.
Mm-hmm. So for somebody,
Yeah, isn't that awful?
so it is. And these wounds, as you put it, if you don't deal with them, they have the most inopportune time to surface. You know, like you're saying, at a work function, that is the last
Yes,
place where
yes.
you need your wounds to surface its head, or to rear its head. And so it's important that we that we do that we deal with these wounds.
Exactly.
So for someone out there that's saying, oh, you know what, I went through all of this stuff when I was in my childhood, and I just want to get to a place where I can just
Yeah.
feel happy. I just want to get there.
Go to
What do you
therapy.
say to someone like that? Because
Go to therapy. Or if you can't go to therapy, there's another system. It's called co-counseling. Our pain needs to be seen and heard and validated. And that gives us, just that, gives us the strength to move forward and overcome these things and be honest with ourselves. That's the hardest thing to do, is to really be honest, because I'm surviving. My survival method was being strong, and then I have to look at my weakness. That makes me feel like I'm going to die. That's why it is in the subconscious, because I needed to survive. And the healing process is looking at that. That's a hard thing to do. There's a system called co-counseling, where get somebody that you totally trust, and you sit for an hour together, and one person speaks looking in each other's eyes. One person speaks and the other one is only listening. No comment, no, oh my God, how did that, none of that. Just look in the person's eyes and let them know that their pain is being seen, so that it solidifies in reality, instead of maybe I was wrong, maybe I shouldn't this, and you start hallucinating. No, this is what happened. This is how it made me feel. This is how it's affected my life. Reality. Common sense.
that is such an uncomfortable thing to do, and I think that's why most people shy away from it.
Well, bit by bit, if you have someone you trust, and then you change where the other person does the same, so that's co-counseling, where one person speaks, the other one puts, because if you're speaking and I'm looking into your eyes and paying attention, you can feel it. You can feel my energy. You can feel that you've been heard and what you're saying is validated.
So when you say co-counseling, does that mean that there is a third party that is observing this, and this is happening between two people in a group?
No, this is only two people together. No third party.
So it's the therapist, and
no,
so it's the therapist.
No, just one. This is like when a person doesn't have access to a therapist, and just two people sitting together. One speaks for half an hour or 1 hour, whatever they like, and then changes. And then, you do the same for the other person. You just pay attention.
Right.
And that's incredibly healing.
And it makes sense. So I know that you will be able to help us understand what are some empowerment strategies, because when we experience any event as in our lives as traumatic, it's a very disempowering state that we are left in. Can you offer some strategies to help us regain our power after a traumatic experience?
First thing is you need to realize that this came to you. It didn't come from you, it came to you. And there's wisdom in everything if we look for it. There's wisdom in everything. One of the things that you can do is write down what happened and how it made you feel. Write it down as this thing, like cancer happened. It came to me and it happened. And I hate you, and how dare you, and all of that, and purge and purge and purge. Write it, write. Give it an archetype, give it a shape, a color, a form. Hate. Hate is a very important thing, because hate, it pulls these heavy energies out of us. And then after all of that, write down, look at, and what's the wisdom of this experience? What part of me survived this? There must be an incredibly powerful part of me that survived this experience of rape or cancer or whatever. I need to find that part and bring it forward into my consciousness and own it and integrate it. So start looking for that part of you that survived, because that's amazing. And imagine that part of you when you own it. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, no, well, maybe. No. I did. So there's a force within me that did that. And I want it, and I want to integrate it, because that will expand my life like crazy.
Yes. Yeah. I think that this is amazing words of wisdom, because I certainly, when I speak from experience, looking at psychotherapy and looking at journaling, writing down, reflecting, really trying to connect to the self, trying to connect to that part of us that did survive, is incredibly empowering. So thank you so much for that, Azzah.
To connect to yourself, it's a process of life. All the gurus have gone through this process. To connect to yourself, the way you connect to yourself is look at everything you're not. No, I'm not stupid. Hello, stupid. I'm going to write it out and get rid of it energetically. And what's the gift from stupid? And no, I'm not weak. And write it out and get the gift of what that force came to teach you. So then you're not identifying with that. The way to get to who you really are is look at everything that you're not. You get rid of everything that you're not. You bring it to consciousness, you release it, you get the gift of that. And then what are you left with? Who you really are. There you are. You don't have to look for yourself. How can a wounded part of me be looking for the wholeness of myself? I can't. I need to release myself from the wound. And
that's
there
beautiful.
I am.
And it's so true. It is incredibly true. Yeah, we need to rid ourselves of some of those negative beliefs and limiting beliefs and that we have about ourselves, and we really need to watch the negative self-talk, like in your example of saying, oh, I'm so stupid. We really need to catch those and release that change.
Well, as soon as you release that negative talks, negative self-talk, oh no, I'm not good, as soon as you energetically release it out of your body, out of your emotions, it's gone. You're not going to have it anymore. It's not rooted anywhere. and then it will just fade. Maybe it'll be chatting a little in a soft voice in the background, but it won't be dominating your life and creating your decisions, creating your life, because these negative talk creates your life. If you look at the negative talk, it's like, no, I don't really believe that at all, but it's creating my life. It's its own thing. So
Yeah,
you release, and then it gets out of the way and it stops
exactly.
creating your
Because
life.
it makes me think of, if you don't address trauma or the experience of trauma in your life, it will run your life. And that's how it runs your life.
Oh yeah, it's yes, totally,
Yeah.
totally,
So, Azzah,
totally,
tell me about any workshops for the
totally.
listeners who wants to do some work. You are a therapist. Where can they get hold of you, and what are your workshops about?
My workshops are always transformational workshops coming back to who you really are. Can you feel time speeding up somehow? Do you have a feeling that time is speeding up?
In what way?
Just like things are happening fast.
In my life, things are happening slowly.
They're happening
It's
slowly. Oh, that's
happening slowly in my
interesting.
life.
Oh, that's interesting because everyone I talk to says things are happening so fast. There's so many changes going on and everything, and personally, globally, there's this
Nope.
energy that, no, you don't feel that. Okay, okay. The reason I was going to say that was because a lot of people feel so that means their healing can happen fast as well. Healing does happen fast. If you focus on the root cause, it doesn't take years and years and years and years to come back to wholeness. Evolution does. It takes all your life. But transforming out of these reactionary survival mechanisms that have you stuck through your internal wounds, through your trauma, that can move very quickly. So I
Mhm.
do personal one-on-one on Zoom, and also I bring groups to San Miguel to do intensives, like a week intensive. I've done weekly intensives or sort of everywhere that I've been. That's what I do. People invite me and organize a week intensive or 5 day intensives, and that's fabulous. Working with other people is
Mhm.
great, and hearing other people's stories, because it makes us realize that we're human. This is the human journey. It's like, oh no, I'm a freak, I'm but no, no, no,
Yeah.
this is the human journey. Everyone can relate to all of our journeys as
Yes.
human beings. We're human. So I do
Yes.
workshops, I do online. I have different things. I have like a 15-minute therapy
Yeah.
session where people want to just clear or get another perspective of a certain situation. And then I have half an hour sessions, and then the normal 1.5 hour session.
Okay. So you have a website, and is that how clients can reach you or the listeners can reach you?
Yeah, they can reach me through my website, and my emails on it, and my phone number's on it, so people can contact me that way. Also, I'm writing a book, and it's called How to Be a Slave.
But
How
you
to Be a
already have a
Slave. What
book.
do you mean?
I saw
Yeah.
that, you're a poet, Azza, and you've actually written
Yes.
a book of
Yeah.
poetry.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
So when can we expect your new book?
um, Within a few months. Now it's the hard part is getting it all organized, getting it together, getting all of that, and that's happening now because it's written. and how to be a slave. People are like, what? What do you mean how to be a slave? Yes. How about being a slave to your negative thoughts? How about being a slave to not listening to your own intuition, but listening to other people's opinion of you and identifying with that? That's
Yes.
slavery.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, so it's short stories. It's each page is its own short story.
That's very exciting, and we are certainly looking forward to that. But you will keep us posted on your website, and I would love for you to come and have a chat to me and share more about the book once it's published.
That'd be fabulous. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Just one last question that I have. If there is one big life lesson that really changed your life.
Not to be scared of who I really, really am.
Yes, that is gold. That is
Yeah.
absolute gold, because I think we should embrace our true self.
You know where I got that from? I got it from Nelson Mandela. His inauguration speech. Yes, do you remember his inauguration speech? He said, it's your greatness you're really scared of. You can deal with your shadow and your smallness and your everything. Try and live and stand in your own greatness. That is what you're really scared of. That's Nelson Mandela. That is huge. My God. My God.
Yes.
That is huge, because that's what we really are scared of. It's like, no, not me.
Yeah.
How should I be looking outside? How should I be to be loved, to be accepted? How about just being yourself? That's the most frightening thing.
It is. It truly is. And I think once you make that leap and you move into that part of yourself and you own it, it's completely liberating. And you can look back and say, wow, I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. Azzah, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I'm going to link all of your details in the show notes below so listeners can get in contact with you. Have a fabulous day. And
You too.
when your book is out, then I'll see you again. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
That wraps up this podcast episode. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, please take a minute to give me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast directory so you don't miss an episode. Please consider following My Centered Life on Facebook and Instagram for daily inspiration. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. You can catch me again in the next episode. Same time, same place. Sending you lots of love and light. Bye.